Welcome to toy-polloi. Parental guidance. This video contains scenes of Lego destruction.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and today we're going to be fixing up the Fright Features real Ghostbusters Janine figure that I was recently sent in a trade by Philip Scott. Now, as you can see here, Janine actually doesn't look too bad, but she has a couple of issues. The main one being that the feature that enables her hair and her eyes to pop out has broken. She also has a little bit of damage to her glasses there, which I think we can also repair. But really, without the Fright feature working, it's a bit of a sad figure. It says the main point of all of these sort of real Ghostbusters figures is you squeeze their arms or do something and bits of their hair and their head sort of pop up and they look surprised. And with poor Janine, what used to happen is that you would rotate her arms up and you can see that her hair just about sort of pops up. But on this one, the arm starts to fall out because it is fully broken. I'll bring in one that isn't broken so you can see what it should look like. So this is an unbroken Fright Features version. Basically, when you move one arm, both arms move. There's a post that goes between the two. And you raise that up and her eyes pop out and her hair pops up. But on this one, I'm guessing what's happened is a child has decided that they want to move both arms separately, and in doing so, sort of twisting it like that, they've snapped the post that goes between the 2 points inside. And so now this arm, as you can see, is loose and wants to fall off. And this one, oh, in fact, it does fall off. And this one, when you rotate it, nothing much happens. So we're going to have to take this figure apart and see if we can repair that from the inside. Now, this is sort of lucky really, because this arm has broken. You can remove it fairly easily. You can see here, this is the little post that I'm guessing joins to the other side. I can just about see it as I sort of stare into the armhole there. So I'm thinking this is the post that has snapped, and it's quite a thin post, and it also looks like this is the key bit that moves the mechanism up and down. So what we're going to have to do is actually open this figure up somehow. It looks, because this is a Kenner figure, it's going to be constructed much the same way as Star Wars figures. And there's an interesting thing with Star Wars figures, that the later down the line of production they go, the worse the glue is that holds them together. So I'm hoping, because this is, I think this is, what era this is, say 1987, so this is a few years after Star Wars finished producing figures in 1984. I think this will be the same sort of construction as the Kenner Star Wars figures. And so to open this, I've got a pair of pliers. All I'm going to do is put them into this armhole and quickly crank it like that. As you can see, that one really came apart very easily. The glue already felt a little bit broken, I have to say, so it may be that someone had trodden on this figure, and you can see that it sort of just is glued around the edges, and we're left with all of these parts, and we've got to work out how it goes back together. But normally with these figures it should be quite straightforward. So I'm just going to have a little ponder, and then I'll work out what is wrong, and we can then go about making it. You can see there, that's the little face mechanism, so that actually hasn't come out. That seems to be all held in place quite firmly. We've got the little hair mechanism as well, again, which is held in with a pin, so that hasn't come out. So the only bit that has come out is this spring-loaded piece, and I think that is the key part. So looking here at the back, I'm going to say this little curved bit is what moves the eyes up and down and moves the hair up and down. This piece here, I think, is where the arms go in and rotate around and sort of move that up and down. Yeah, I think that's definitely right. And then that means that this little spring needs to hold on the bottom. There's a post. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. You can see once you sort of logically work your way through it, it becomes quite clear. So yes, that is how this works. Basically that bit goes up and down. You can see there's a little latch there that catches the clip on the back of the mouth. That moves everything in and out, and I'm guessing that post there, if we were to put the back on, touches on the bottom of the hair and moves that up. So these arms, if we put one of them back in, let's put the broken one in. Ah yes, so that post in the middle is actually a key part of it. That is what moves up and down. Yeah, so we need to replace this middle post that is broken, and I think, to me, that looks like a perfect fix for a piece of Lego. So here are the two broken arms, and you can see exactly what has happened. It is snapped sort of halfway between the two, and that's enabled this arm to fall out, and it stops the mechanism working as well, because this post, you can see, is off-centered to the main sort of pivot point of the arms, and as it rotates round it moves that little bracket up and down. So we need to replace this broken post and join these two arms back together. And as is always the way, the first thing I do when trying to do a fix like this is I look in my pot of Lego. You'll have seen me use bits of Lego all the time on this channel. It's probably the most useful tool anyone needs if you're fixing toys. And there are these things called whip antennas, and this is going to be perfect because it's just about the same sort of diameter as that missing post. So I've got a broken one here of a whip antenna, and that is what we're going to use as the sort of basis for this. And again, these are all standard sizes. I think these are 1.5 millimeters in diameter, so I've already put a relevant size drill bit in my pin vise here. This is actually slightly smaller than this. I think the actual dimensions is sort of 1.6 mil, so this is a 1.5 mil drill bit. I'd rather drill a hole that's slightly too small than the one that's slightly too big, because we can always enlarge it. So this is just a slightly smaller drill bit than what we need. And I've also measured the distance between these two when you hold them together, which is 5 millimeters. So I know exactly how far apart they need to be held. What we're going to do now is trim off the remains of these posts. We don't need either of those pieces. I'm just going to carefully trim that down with some plastic nippers, like so. We'll do the same on the other side. And now, using the marks that are left where I've trimmed it, I can drill the two holes. So I'm going to do a 1.5 millimeter hole here, and likewise on this side. Okay, so I've now got holes drilled in both of these arms, and the post is really actually a little bit too tight. I don't think I can get that in, so I'm going to just slightly widen the hole. I've put a slightly larger drill bit in, but as I say, it's always better to start a little bit small, just because you don't want to sort of drill a too big hole and then have real issues. So I always try to go a little bit smaller if I possibly can. I'm just going to actually just gently do this. I don't want to go too far again, sort of wearing this hole out, making it too big. I think that might be enough. Yeah, that's starting to get good. So I'm just going to modify those holes a little bit more, make them slightly larger, and then we can cut this post down, but that will be the new post to go between the 2 points. Okay, so that now fits quite nicely, and we can start to glue this together. I'm going to be just using some super glue to do this. The plastic weld that I normally use on sort of plastic doesn't work particularly well with the type of plastic used on the arm of this Janine figure. It would work quite well with the Lego, but not the Janine sort of arm plastic. That's just how these things go. So super glue will do the job. Get a bit on the end, and then I'll sort of dab it around. We'll push that in. Yeah, that feels good and firm. So it's only going in by about 1 millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters. So it's not the longest of joints, but it will be long enough. And what I can do is we'll get the other one stuck in place as well. So I know that there's got to be a 5 millimeter gap between the two. I'm just going to measure that, and I will trim off the excess that's on this post. I'm going to trim it off by just slightly over 1 millimeter. And then we'll do the same. We can fit that in the other end here. You can see that's actually going to be quite a good fix by the time that's glued in place. And those arms are nicely held together. I think this mechanism, there is hope that it will work again. So now the arms are stuck together, we can go ahead and put the figure sort of back together. And I've just got to sort of follow the process I showed you earlier and put that little piece in. That's the bit that sort of moves everything up and down. You can see that's a bit does her eyes. And the arms, I think we can drop those in and hook that under there. Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so I'll hook the spring on at the bottom, like so, and then we'll get her arms roughly in place. Put that over those. Make sure it's all lined up at the top. Yep, that seems to be in the right position. Then I can see this being quite fiddly because we've got to drop her legs back on. And then we've also got to put this on without everything pinging out of the way. So I'm going to get some tweezers. I think if I just hold that down like that, we can then drop that over the top, and that should then hold everything in place, which it does. I will glue this finally once it's sort of all, we've got it working. Just a bit of super glue I'll drop on sort of all of the sort of key points. But now if we raise her arms, there you go, look at that. The Fright feature is working again. So yeah, that's a good fix, fairly straightforward to do. I'm going to glue this figure back together, and then I'll do a quick repair on her glasses. I'm just going to cut a little piece of 1mm styrene to shape something and glue that on, then I'll give that a quick paint and we'll have the final figure. And here we go, here is the finished Janine figure. As you can see now, if I move her arms up, the Fright features all work. Her eyes pop out and her hair sort of goes on end, and it really does work very well. That fix is perfectly strong actually. I think you'd be hard pushed to know that that had ever been fixed. You can see I can rotate the arms around and they both move very freely. I've also done a really quick and quite sort of dirty fix on her glasses. You can see I've sort of made a new piece just where there was a broken bit sort of snapped off. I don't actually have a very good colour match on the paint for this at the moment, so I'm going to say at the moment that's a little bit of a bodge on the glasses. The shape of them works, but I need to finish off the painting, but I'll grab some new paint next time I go down the model shop and make sure I get a colour that matches, because you can see the original colour is quite vibrant, and that's not the sort of colour I seem to sort of have in my paint box at the moment. It's certainly one I could probably do with getting, so yeah, that's going to be added to my list. But there you go, really it was a quick fix on how to sort out the broken Fright features on this Janine figure, and I think that has done the job. So we've gone from a very broken figure that was no good to anyone to a figure that does work and can happily go on display with my other Fright features real Ghostbusters figures. So I hope this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.